My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip the steering wheel. I kept looking in the rearview mirror, expecting to see David's black truck roaring up behind me, his face a mask of fury. He hadn't found the note yet. I knew that. But he would, and then, well, I didn't want to think about and then. That's why I was driving like a bat out of hell towards the airport. A small, hastily packed duffel bag on the passenger seat beside me. It had been another night of him yelling, of his voice cutting into me like little shards of glass. Not hitting, not this time, but the words were sometimes worse. They made me feel small, stupid, worthless. And last night, something in me just stopped. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be that person he saw, that person he made me into. The airport was a blur of bright lights and echoing announcements. I'd bought a ticket online to the cheapest, furthest place I could find a few days ago, a tiny little seed of a plan I hadn't really believed I'd water. San Diego. It sounded sunny. It sounded far away from the gray drizzle of our life. My flight was gate B12, or was it B21? My mind was a scrambled egg. I was so terrified David would somehow appear, grab my arm, drag me back to that silent, suffocating house. I saw a long line shuffling towards a gate that said final call, and my heart leaped into my throat. The something, that was it. I practically ran, thrusting my crumpled boarding pass at the tired-looking gate agent. She barely glanced at it, just scanned it with a beep and waved me through. I stumbled down the jet bridge, my breath coming in ragged gasps, and found an empty seat by a window near the back. I sank into it, pressing my face against the cool plastic, and only then did I let the tears come. Quiet, hot tears of fear and a tiny, flickering spark of relief. I was on a plane. I was leaving. The engines whined, then roared, and we were pushed back, taxiing, then thundering down the runway. As we lifted into the air, I felt a strange lightness, like a physical weight had been taken off my shoulders. I was actually doing. It was only when the flight attendant came by asking about drinks that I glanced at the in-flight magazine. And then my blood ran cold. The map showed our route to Denver, not San Diego. My stomach dropped. I fumbled for my boarding pass, the one still clutched in my sweaty hand. Sure enough, in small print, Flight 482 to Denver. How could I have been so stupid? The gate agent. The similar gate numbers? My panic. Tears welled up again. This time tears of pure idiotic frustration. I'd escaped, yes, but I messed it up. Now what? I didn't know anyone in Denver. I had even less money than I thought, because the ticket to Denver was probably different. I buried my face and my hands, everything all right there. A calm voice said beside me. I jumped. I'd been so wrapped up in my own misery, I hadn't even noticed someone had sat down in the aisle seat next to me. I looked up at a man, maybe in his late 40s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He had flecks of gray in his dark hair and wore a simple, comfortable-looking sweater. Oh, yes, fine, just a long day, I mumbled, wiping my eyes quickly. He didn't press, just nodded. Airports can be like that. He picked up his own magazine. We sat in silence for a while. The drink cart came. I just asked for water. He got a coffee. The smell of it was surprisingly comforting. You heading to Denver for business or pleasure? He asked, his voice still soft, not prying, just making conversation. Neither really, I said, then winced internally. What a stupid answer. I think I boarded the wrong plane. The words just tumbled out before I could stop. Them. He raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, but no judgment. Oh, that's unfortunate. Where were you headed? San Diego, I whispered, feeling like a complete fool. Ah, quite a different climate. he said, a small smile playing on his lips. Well, Denver's got its own charm. The mountains are something else. I must have looked as wretched as I felt because his smile softened. Look, it happens. Airports are chaotic. Don't beat yourself up too much. Something about his easy acceptance, his lack of judgment, made a little bit of the tension in my shoulders ease. With David, any mistake, no matter how small, was a catastrophe, a reason for him to lecture, to belittle. It's just, I really needed to get to San Diego, I said, my voice thick. He was quiet for a moment, just looking at me with those steady, kind eyes. Running from something, or to something? The question was so direct, yet so gentle, it caught me off guard. And suddenly, I wanted to tell him. Not everything, not the ugly details, but just something. I was so tired of holding it all in. From something, I admitted, my voice barely audible above the hum of the engines. From someone, he nodded slowly. I see. He didn't ask who or why. He just accepted it. Well, sometimes the wrong plane takes you to the right place. Or at least a place where you can figure out the next step. We talked more after that, in fits and starts. His name was Arthur. He was a writer, he said, traveling to Denver for a bit of research and to visit an old friend. He didn't talk much about himself, but he was a good listener. He asked simple questions that made me think. He didn't offer solutions, didn't tell me what I should or shouldn't do. He just listened. I found myself telling him small things, not about the yelling or the fear, but about feeling trapped, about needing to breathe, about wanting a life that was my own. He listened and nodded, and sometimes he'd share a little observation about people, or choices, or the unexpected turns life can take. You know, he said at one point, looking out the window at the vast expanse of clouds below us, the scariest journeys often lead to the most beautiful destinations. Not always the ones we planned, but beautiful nonetheless. For the first time in what felt like years, I felt a flicker of something other than fear or despair. It wasn't quite hope, not yet, but it was a possibility. The idea that maybe, just maybe, this colossal mistake wasn't the end of the world. Maybe it was just a different, unplanned detour. When the pilot announced our descent into Denver, a fresh wave of anxiety washed over me. What was I going to do? I had no plan, no friends here, very little money. Arthur must have seen the panic. On my face, Denver International is a big hub, he said calmly. You can get a flight to San Diego from there if that's still what you want to do, or you could take a day. Breathe the mountain air, think. As we deplaned, he walked with me through the terminal. I felt like a lost child, but having him beside me, calm and unhurried, was a strange comfort. Look, he said, stopping near the departures board. You seem like a strong person, even if you don't feel like it right now. You took a very brave step today, even if it was onto the wrong plane. He reached into his wallet and pulled out $100 bill. No, I couldn't, I started. Flustered. Please, he said, pressing it into my hand. Consider it a travel grant. For unexpected detours. Get yourself a coffee, find a quiet corner, and make a plan. Or don't make a plan. Just sit for a bit. You've earned it. His eyes were so sincere. And remember, he added, his voice softer, you're not the person he tried to make you. You're whoever you choose to be, starting now. Tears pricked my eyes again, but this time they weren't from fear or frustration. They were from a strange mix of gratitude and a bewildering sense of release. Thank you, Arthur, I whispered. I don't know what to say. He just smiled. No need to say anything. Safe travels, wherever you end up. And with a little nod, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. I stood there for a long moment, the $100 bill warm in my hand. The airport bustled around me, people rushing to their gates, to their lives. For the first time, I didn't feel quite so alone in the chaos.wrong plane. Yes, it was a mistake, a big one. But Arthur was right. I was here now, Denver, a place I never intended to be. I looked at the departures board. Flights to San Diego were listed. Flights to countless other cities, too. I walked over to a coffee shop, the aroma of roasted beans suddenly inviting. I ordered a latte and found a seat by a large window overlooking the tarmac. Planes were landing and taking off, silver birds, soaring into the vast blue sky. I didn't know what I was going to do next. My future was a complete blank, terrifying and yet strangely liberating. David felt a million miles away. The house, the gray drizzle, the constant ache in my heart. It was all behind me. I took a sip of my latte. It was warm and comforting. For the first time in a long, long time, I felt a tiny, fragile seed of hope take root in my chest. Maybe the wrong plane wasn't so wrong after all. Maybe it was just the first step on a journey I was finally choosing for myself. And maybe, just maybe, I was strong enough to see where it led.